What is up? It's a Figure Hunter, and today we're going to do a full and comprehensive review for the new Whoop strength training protocol or feature on the Whoop device. So if you like this review, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing for more, because I have done a lot of work to be able to compile my thoughts on this and compare the capabilities of the Whoop strength training protocol to Coros' strength training and Garmin strength training. So there's a lot to this, and so I put timestamps down below if you want to jump to certain sections. And in 1 minute, I'm going to literally tell you my backbone summary, and then I'm going to highlight it a little bit more in the summary section of this video. So stay tuned in just a minute to get the backbone of who this is not for, what this doesn't do, and what it does do. So there you have it. So I'm basically going to look at this in a few different aspects. So we're going to look at the Whoop's capabilities, and in each of these aspects, I'm going to share what I like. So a summary of the aspect, what I like and what I don't like. And that's building a workout, what I like and don't like, executing a workout, and workout analysis. And then we're going to compare it to others, both on building, executing, and the workout analysis compared to Coros and Garmin. I really wrestled with, should I just do one master comprehensive strength training video overview? And for the simplicity and the sake of time, and specifically with highlighting Whoop's new strength training aspect, I wanted just to focus on Whoop and Whoop alone. And I might do a massive one, or I might just do more comprehensive Coros one, more comprehensive Garmin one in the days to come, because it has just been a lot of work to wrap my mind around how each of them function, and each of them function differently versus one another. So then we'll get into the summary of thoughts, as well as just touch again on how it compares to others. So again, building the workout, workout execution, workout analysis, comparison to others in those primary three areas, and then a summary of features. So that is the backbone of the video. So to give you sort of the upfront answers, what do I think of Whoop's strength training protocol? What it's not. It is not for CrossFit. It is not for the high intensity interval community. It is not for cross training, where you are just moving through a series of movements without rest, without needing to. It is not for those features at all. It is really specifically for those that are doing concentrated lifting, and only sometimes have the complexity of doing one lift back to back with another before taking a rest. So in its simplest form, it is for people that are doing lifting only, where they're doing a singular movement or a couple of movements and then taking a conscious rest. That is what this is primarily for. And as I was just saying, it's not for blending lifting and cardio. It's not for tying any two aspects of those together. And the last thing is not for making any adjustments whatsoever at the end of your workout. It is just locked in stone. There's no tweaks or adjustments. And it's not for anybody right now wanting to have a greater awareness of their movement patterns, their movement velocity, their movement speed, anything from the accelerometer. It's not visually displayed at any time, at any part at this time. So you're not going to get any awareness. So you can't change the lifts, number of reps, weights. You can't change any of that once it's complete. You can't change it during the workout, and you're not going to get any trajectory information. But what it is for people that are doing conscious lifting separate from their cardio, that want to get a more applicable strain score for that lifting session, because it does give higher strain score as long as you're doing multiple movements than you would have ever gotten if you just said start strength workout and then end strength workout at the end. It's going to change the strain score for those. So, it is dependent on your phone. You are interacting with your phone a lot. It is a little bit distracting, and you are only able to wear it on the wrist, is what they say, and the heart rate accuracy is going to lag. So that's the summary before we get into the details. So with that, let's talk about what it looks like to build a workout in summary, and then what I liked and didn't like about the workout building process. All right, so here's the basic Whoop landing page. We'll try to go through some of this stuff somewhat quickly. So you go into the strength trainer, so by hitting the plus on any of the pages, and here's where you build the workouts. I've built a few and done a few. So you could basically do a singular movement, where this was just one test, and we'll see the results of it, where you basically find bench press with the little plus mark, and then once you add it, you'll be able to, add the reps and weight. And then you have things like this, where this is what I did today, where it was like a set of actually true lifting on front squats, and then supersets, which was basically like a quasi Metcon where I combined them without wanting much of a rest time calculation. And then I entered different because it was a declining and increasing number of rep scheme on each of those. So that's how you build any of these. And the other one that I guess you could look at is just a basic lift where you just added some basic movements. And then in all of these, just so that you're aware, you basically, and I'll talk through highlights in a second, but you're just assuming that the lift is also inclusive of assumed rest time after. So you're not going to have an individualized rest time function or add the rest. So once you add a movement, it basically is already assuming when you stop the movement and you press the stop button for the workout that you are starting a rest time. And the next time you click it, it's going to go to the next movement. And so this has 3 sets. So it's assuming you're going to do 3 sets. And then after that third set, you go into the rest. After you end that rest or you start the next movement, it's already looking to do the next movement on the list. So what do I like in general? I do like that there is basically a good library. So if we go into this test, you can see burpees are in there. Med ball is sort of a, wall balls. Jump rope doesn't have double under, has unique things like toes to bar, like we saw on that other workout. If we look at the AMRAP single arm snatches, it doesn't let you do alternating, which is unfortunate. But that's just sort of what it's limiting it to 1 at a time. And you can superset, so you can bind things together. And when you superset something, also just know that that just means that there's not going to be rest after each of these movements until you get to the end of the movement. So you do all 5 of these movements in a row. So you have to click the button every time. So when you finish your burpees, you click the button on the screen. Finish your med ball or the wall balls, click the button on the screen. It's automatically going to go into the next movement. It's not looking for a rest period. And then you get done with that snatch work. At the end, click the button and it is going to go into a rest before you start the next superset. So at least you can bind things together if you don't want the forced rest period. So those are the 2 good things. What I don't like, you can't build layers in this. You can't build like 3 rounds of one movement, and then within that 1 round, you're also doing 1 movement, and then you're going to do a few other movements multiple times in a row. So you just can't build anything other than really lifting with a rest, like a singular lift movement with a rest, or some bound together superset movements with a rest. And there's no cardio related movements built in here. So if you go to look for movements, it doesn't have anything cardio related. There's also, what's a little frustrating is that you don't have a list of recently searched exercises, or if I was like literally building this superset, I had to go back in. And the other main thing is you can't copy this one superset up at the top and say, duplicate this, or let me do this superset multiple times, or at least I haven't found a way. And if you go into, you have to build the next superset. If you wanted to batch some things together, but then do that batch on a repeat, you actually have to rebuild it all. Super frustrating that there's not a copy. Super frustrating that when you go to search for the next movement, it doesn't have any regard to what you just put into this particular workout. It should have a recent list at the top. Absolutely. And then the other thing I would say is, like, let's say you're going to add back squats, or let's say you're going to search for something. Once you found the back squats, let's uncheck that. Let's just say toes to bar. And once you found the hanging toes to bar, it should just automatically have a plus symbol if you want to just immediately add this. You actually have to swipe down in order to get to the thing to go away, so that then you can then add it. Push that add button at the bottom. But you can add multiple things at once. You just have to search for each one. And then once you get done with the last search, swipe down that little keyboard and then superset it. One thing that's also frustrating is there's no times. You can't control time. You can't have an auto transition where it doesn't allow you to do anything that would be like an EMOM, where you just wanted to, jump rope and restart it's tracking at the beginning of every minute. Or here, if you wanted to do these in a singular minute, like max burpees, max vertical toss, or max wall balls, max jump rope, max hanging toes to bar in each minute, and just roll right through. No, it's all button dependent, and there's no time control. So you're not controlling the timing. And so you obviously not going to be able to do EMOMs. You're not going to be able to do max reps on one of these particular movements without just clicking the button on the screen. It doesn't have a time control paradigm. So those are the things within building and what I like. Okay, now we're going to look at what is it like to execute a workout. How does it look on the app? And then what did I like and not like about the execution of a workout in real term? All right, so executing a workout, it's really relatively easy. Let's say we're going to do, let's just going to say this particular one is just sort of a singular movement. So I'm going to do like 4 different movements with rest in between each of the movement, 3 sets per movement. So once you start the workout, it's going to ask you what side you're wearing it on. It's going to go through a timer. And then it does have a built-in warm-up. I really wish it just sort of told me, I wish you could add time subsets to the workout rather than just movement subsets. So you can see that here, there's not an exercise prescribed, and you're waiting for the next exercise if you swipe right or left, but you have just a warm up. And then see at the bottom, you start this, boom, you start the first set. You can tell the green colors change to active, and you see on the bottom, the split squat, L barbell, left leg barbell, and then you in the set, and it assumed you did it. It's not counting your reps for you. There's no use or visual capabilities of the accelerometer built into it so far. You finish that, and you start the next one. It's active again. You end that set. Start the next one. It's active again. You end that set, and then it's going to look like it's all at the bottom. You can see it's already moved to split squats. And so if you're doing this, and it's just for people that are doing conscious lifting with conscious rest in between. It is nice, you can see what you have left. You can see what you got done. Like, okay, I got all those done, and then I have this. This is what I'm working on. So in the pros and cons, so that's how you execute the workout. You just keep going. You start, stop, whatever. You got your rest period. Just know that your rest period, like you have your exercise list over here, and that's what it looks like when you build the workout. And just know that there's rest in between each of the movements for each of the sets. What's the positive? It's fine. I don't know that there's any significant positives. The clock that I can count my rest time. So if you're lifting and you want to work out on a 2-minute rest cycle, you can do so because you can see the rest time right there. You can also see your heart rate. So that's giving you awareness of, how much work you're doing. What do I not like? In simple terms, there's no motivation or guidance, and there's not, because you're tethered to this phone, in some opinion of mine, it should have the ability to show something more visual about the next movement, like to show you a picture of it or to give you some sort of motivation instead of squeezing it out all down at the bottom. Like you have to have your phone up, you have the phone be on, you're phone dependent because you have to start and stop on the phone itself. So it should utilize the visual screen of the phone, both for guidance on the next movement or for motivation getting into the next movement. You could use this whole screen to tell you something. The other primary thing, besides just being phone dependent, where you're starting and stopping, if you're doing barbell work, it was a pain to like set this off where it's not going to get smashed by a barbell landing after a snatch, and then start it and then walk 10 seconds over to do the lift. That was annoying, and then finish your lift and then walk 10 seconds over, 5 seconds over to stop the activity. It's fine. It's not the end of the world, but think about that when you're doing really concentrated, hard lifting days. In my opinion, you have to remember to start, remember to stop, or especially just the starting part. It's taking one segment from your mental focus. A lot of times if I'm doing like super heavy deadlifts or complex snatch work and I'm getting ready to lift, I just like to have like my thoughts clear and the air clear, and just sort of like that last 10 seconds or 15 seconds, just like get in the zone to hit the next lift, to either keep the mechanics right or to put all my exertion into the lift itself. So this is very distracting, or it could be very distracting since it's so dependent. So that's the execution portion. And then once you get done with a workout, what information can you glean from it? How is the workout analysis adding value to your own awareness of how your training is going? Let's look at that. We're going to look at a single movement workout and multi-movement workouts and just look at it all and then talk about likes and dislikes. When we get done with one of these workouts, what does it look like? We're going to look at two different types of workouts. I did a number of them, but the first we're going to look at is a singular lift. So this strength training workout, if you were to look at the movement itself, it was just bench press. So it was just a bench press day. So I did, 6 sets of 3 and then 2 at a higher weight. So just bench press. So when you go to, okay, what do I get if I was just to use this for just one exercise movement? So you look at the top, relatively low strain, and it's giving me a low muscular expenditure. Now, I am sore from this bench press workout, so I was using a muscular expenditure, and it definitely wasn't a cardio workout because it was low rep, high weight. So what do I get in value? Now, is this accurate? Let's just say, yeah, sure, this is accurate. It was a 4.2 strain. It was a singular movement that lasted, 15 minutes, or I guess 27 minutes because I used the whole warm-up period. But in simple terms, if you're just doing singular movements, there's not a lot of value you can extract from this. So it's not great in that capacity. So then we go into like a full workout where here you can see the workouts here. So, split squats, deadlifts, hip thrusters. Now, just as an aside, you can't edit any of this junk. It's super frustrating. And I guess I'll put that in my don't like category when I talk about it in a second. But I actually changed my workouts. I didn't do split squats. I did back squats and then front squats, which is why the weight is a little heavier for what it would normally be for a split squat. And then I did deadlifts, and then I did hip thrusters. So here's a normal workout with 4 workout movement types, and in each one, 3 sets of 8 reps. So now we can have like the backdrop in our brain that this is the tracking of a 4 movement, 3 set per movement workout picture. And you can see that it did give me a higher strain score, and it did calculate a lot more muscular load. You can see just the basics of the heart rate zones if you wanted to look at just your heart rate zones, but most times you're lifting, because this really is just lifting only. You can see your heart rate zones, and then if you wanted to swipe through, that's the whole heart rate. You can see what portions of time you were doing work, and you can see the heart rate spike after, and portions of time you're doing work, portions of time you're doing work, and portions of time you're doing work. Obviously, hip thruster wasn't as cardiovascularly demanding. So you can see that, you can see on the back squats, one thing that, so this is what a workout looks like, so this, pros and cons we're going to talk about. So this is what a workout looks like if you're doing like a true, more strength training. You got 4 movements, 3 sets per movement. Fine. So what are the likes? The likes in simple terms is it is giving me a higher activity strain score because it knew I was doing muscular loading. So that is a positive, because if you are just a lifter primarily, or if you isolate your days between lifting and cardio, you will get a better strain score. So this was a 41-minute workout where my heart rate was like 140, maybe up to 150. Not a lot of strain going on from a cardiovascular standpoint. So this is the one positive with the Whoop strength training protocol, is it will give you a higher strain score. I got a 13.6, and it does say, okay, if you're doing leg-based work, you are straining your body. It's not based on how fast I move. There's, we'll talk about it in a second, but it's basically, that's the one thing that is positive. If you're isolating between cardio and lifting, this would serve a much better function, because it would not give you a good strain score if it thought you were just doing a cardio workout and going for a run, and that's what your heart rate graph looked like. What do I not like? Number one, it's on your wrist. So this was not accurate. So the wrist-based heart rate, especially, my heart rate was a lot higher. My heart rate was starting out in the 150s. The amount of time I spent in a higher heart rate after those back squats was higher. So it's not calculating cardio strain correctly because it's on my wrist. And that's just, that's just it. The second thing that I don't like is that there really isn't any sign of bar path velocity, accelerometer data for use. So they say they're using it, that goes into the amass, but you don't get any benefit from the accelerometer or their trajectory or, lag time between your movements. Like if you're really wanting to do Olympic lifting, are you pulling weaker, slower? off the squat clean or off the snatch, you don't get any use of the accelerometer. So the other thing is that it does feel very one-dimensional. You're not getting any assessment of how many muscles you reached. You're not getting any evaluation of your, like a body heat map. And then one thing that is just an aside, you don't get any history. Like it doesn't say like this week you knocked out these leg muscles, or over time you knocked out this. You don't have a tracking history for when you did this last leg workout. So there's no history, and there's no application of what body parts you've used today or in the past. Summary of the week. So, and that's pretty much it, besides the fact that you really wouldn't use this for singular movement workout days. You would do it with multi-movement workout days. So that's the workout analysis. Okay, and so now for a little bit of a bigger section, we're going to talk about like how does it compare to others with building, execution, and analysis. So we're going to look at Coros, and we're going to interweave Coros and Garmin sort of back and forth. We're not going to look at it directly in comparison to what Whoop looked like, so you might have to reference part of the earlier parts of the video. But let's dive into comparison of the Whoop to Coros to Garmin. Okay, so how does this compare to others? We've just seen what it takes, how you build a workout, execute, and what the summary is. So if you look at some of the two primary platforms, Coros and Garmin. So Coros, when it comes to, and we're just going to focus on each of those categories, what's building. So Coros on the building side is weaker in the number of movements. So if you look at some of these movements, I couldn't do double unders, jump ropes. I had to do jumping jacks. There was no place for wall balls. So it didn't have the same number of movements. But Whoop and then, Garmin, basically, you can do all sorts of stuff. Your build is so much more extensive. So Whoop was worse in every other way when it comes to building complexity. Within Coros, you can see I added a warm-up. I have repeat 6 times. I have no rest after each of these. It's not just assumed. I choose when I put in rest and when I don't, and versus like doing a superset, and I cool down. So the build process with Coros is like level 2. So Whoop's level 1, Coros is level 2 because you can add some complexity, although it's just limited on the number of movements. And then Garmin is just level 4. It's just like here I could do a Murph prep workout where I have a warm-up and then I start 4 rounds. But within those 4 rounds, after one movement, there's 3 rounds of 3 other movements. And I can change when it changes from one movement to the next. So that's the comparison. So again, Whoop's level 1, Coros level 2, Garmin level 4 when it comes to building. Garmin has every single, there's really not, there's not a workout movement that you couldn't, like if you added a step, it's not one you couldn't find. Crud. So if you want to add an exercise, there's like 8 trillion, plus they have this recent category where you can see, that's another thing, Coros has a recent category. Coros puts the recent ones on top. So when you go to search, you just see a quick list. Here, you have the same thing, recent category. So, and then you have every movement under the sun with Garmin. So that's building. So when I go to cancel saving that, when you go to executing, one thing to note, so first about Coros is just all watch dependent. And any transition you have to hit a button. So but it is still kind of nice where you just have it on your wrist, and most of your watch is going to be on your wrist. It's less mental distraction. So you just go from one movement to the next by hitting the button, and it'll start the next movement and have a pop-up for what you're supposed to do. And then Garmin is just better than all that all around because you can get specific. So you can see within the 3 rounds, pull-ups, push-ups, I didn't want to have to hit a button. When I was doing 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, and 15 air squats, I only wanted to have to hit a button after I got through with like one whole mini round. So I just put an arbitrary time for the pull-ups, push-ups, and then I knew that by the time I was getting done with the air squats, I was already in that category. I would just click a button. Now, it wasn't tracking the exact reps, but that's not what you would do this type of workout for. So you can get, a lot more specific. So executing, just buttons on the wrist, plus with Garmin, you can auto transition. You could just have it go for a minute and the watch is going to be like, okay, well, you got to start your burpees now because you finished the minute of wall balls. So you can do whatever you want. If you want to do, 10-minute EMOM of just working on double unders to get better, it'll just automatically start the next round, and you start the next, effort itself. So then when it comes to the analysis side, so if we start with Coros first, you can see that Coros is giving you the heat map. So you already know, based on the work you're doing, what body parts are being trained and the machines you're going to need. So it's already telling you what muscle groups are work. So that's another value. So again, Whoop is like 1.0, Coros in this category is like 3.0, and then Garmin's like 4 or 5.0. But you get your heat map of what you're doing. If you're building out a workout, you want to see what muscle groups you're touching. But with Coros, it's just showing the primary muscles, whereas with Garmin, you see primary and secondary. So like if I was doing that bench press workout, just bench press, one singular movement, it's only going to show my pecs being used and not my triceps and not my shoulders, which are, those are big parts of bench press. Whereas with the Garmin, it's going to show the secondary muscles being triceps and shoulders. So when you go in to look at a workout, both of them do a good job at showing the impact or the overall assessment. So you'll see this in a second. Let me just get back to the categories where I get back into the activities. So this is that front squat leading into front squats and dips. So, there it is all listed out. So with the Coros, you see your training load score. Again, this is something that you should note. This is where Whoop does better, is if in the lifting, you're going to get a higher strain score because it's looking for lifting. You get your heat map, you get your heart rate graph, and then you get your training effect, both an aerobic and anaerobic training effect. Those things are fine if you really focus on just lifting within one of these. It is nice that it's giving you a heat map, and the thing that Coros does better than Garmin is that it has a weekly heat map. So you can see, I wish it showed secondary muscles, because again, I did bench press and it's got no credit towards deltoids or no credit towards triceps. But it is showing you, as your color builds, the amount of work you do, you see primary areas you focus this week on brighter, different colorization. So that's what Coros does for its summary. And then, like, say the summary for Garmin. Here's where Garmin is king, and this is why they're king in all these categories. They don't have a weekly heat map, which I think is a bummer. I think that is a really cool idea. But you can see primary and secondary muscles used. That is really helpful because that is a real world experience. The other thing you get your breakdown is that Coros and Whoop have no adjustment. You can't do anything to adjust. You can't go in and change that you did, or not gonna lie, you can't change any of the reps, the weights, anything. You can't change the movement. Garmin, you can change any of it. So if I go here and I say I chose last minute not to do barbell front squats, I could go in there, I could choose another exercise and say back squats instead. If I want to change the number of reps, I could change that so that it makes my total load correct. And if I want to change the weight, how many times have we gone into workout and just like, we're just feeling tired, and what was an RPE of 9 is suddenly an RPE of 10 because we're just worn down that week. So you can't change anything after you built the workout and send it to the watch. You're stuck with it. Garmin also allows you to adjust the number of reps in the workout while you're doing it. And they all get, still get this same total volume in the middle. So you get the amount of load you did, you get the heat map, and then you get the full typical Garmin breakdown of training effect, aerobic and anaerobic and heart rate zones. But those are the primary differences of who does what best. And, again, in layering, Whoop is just sort of like single dimension. Coros is next in line, although they're lacking some depth, although they do some things better. And then Garmin just has depth and evolution and does everything better, other than not showing a weekly heat map. And that's the summary. All right, so in summary, we're going to talk about the limitations, what it's good for, what it's not good for, the needs of, like, for Whoop to change and evolve from this starting point, and the simple answer of, will I use it? So limitations, it's wrist dependent. So you are going to get heart rate accuracy differences for real world, what your actual heart rate would be versus on the wrist. It's phone dependent. So you have to click in and click out. And it's obviously, like I said in that section, I feel like it's a real mental distraction. If you are really mentally gearing up for a big lift, to have to hit the button and have to hit the button after, you really need to focus all your mental energy on the big lift. So that's a problem. And then it's really just for lifting only. It's not for any cardio. It's for just conscious lifting days to be able to get an applicable strain score. So what is it good for? It's good for just that. It's good for exclusive lifting sessions, whether you're pairing a couple movements together or doing singular movements across your body, in getting higher strain because of the muscles works. I think that's a valuable point. That's like the singular valuable point in this. Because what it's not good for, it's not good for like a broad analysis of how much of your body you've worked that week. It's not good for being able to do workout tracking and workout history and evaluate what your last workout performance was relative to the current workout, because there's no history of like when you did leg day and redoing leg day, or being able to access your last time you did, back squats in any movement history scores. You can't edit any of the workouts once you get done if you were feeling stronger or weaker or had failed reps in anything. And, it's not good for, analyzing any of the movement of the barbell itself. It's not good for any of the accelerometer type information. So, you obviously can't combine cardio with this. And so it's just limited to it really boils down. And this is the tragic oversimplicity of it, is the workout analysis I didn't find a lot of value in, other than just that it gives you a better strain score. So if I was going to summarize everything, it's good for just getting a better strain score, and it's not really worthwhile for anything else. So take that for what it's worth. Now, what do they need to do from here to improve? They need a history. They need some sort of history where if you did that same workout and you want to do it again, maybe to see what your weights were, maybe some sort of, and obviously it needs some sort of information on what body parts you have burned out this week. So it needs to correlate movements with body parts that have been worked or overworked in some way, like the heat map type situation. They need to add when you're building the workout, they need to add recently searched workout types so you can quickly add them. They need to make it possible if you have multiple workouts repeating to not have to go research, but you can just copy down the line workout movements that you want to repeat later in the workout. I really do think they should, at first, in simplest form, they should bundle strength with cardio. So you could do a strength workout and roll right into a functional fitness Metcon. So you could do your strength portion and bundle it with your Metcon and get one massive muscular strain and cardio strain all together, because then you'd have one massive strain score, which I think would add value rather than having to mess with the strength if you also are going to do cardio in the same day. So they need to bundle the two together as an option. And then in simple form, or comparing to others, how does it compare to others? I definitely think that it's been surprising how evolved or how good I think Garmin's is. If you did want to track your CrossFit workouts and did want to track time domains within that, or have it tell you what to do next, or track your periods of time, or just get overall strain, or write your workout, or have a workout written for you by a coach and just upload it to your watch and you just sort of follow it on the watch. So it's very capable there, and Coros is very capable, and I really like their weekly heat map. I think all these devices should have that. That is actually really helpful, which would be a reason to actually build your workouts, execute the workouts on the watch, even if they're Metcons, cardio-based, or whatever, to be able to see a heat map of how much damage you've done to different parts of your body throughout the week. And the last and simple answer is, will I use the Whoop strength training? No, I will not. It's only because I'm doing single movements. So in every CrossFit session, you're doing conscious lifting for like 20 minutes, one movement, one body part, or one complexity. You're doing snatch work or squat cleans or clean and jerk, whatever it is. You're just doing one thing, and I would have to go through, set up the workout, follow that. I get a relatively low strain score, not get any muscular score, not get any value for it, and then I'd have to start another workout for the Metcon. And it's just not worth it. It doesn't apply and doesn't change anything on the overall physiological breakdown of my week. So that is the summary of the Whoop's new strength training feature within their app, as it also compares to Coros and Garmin. It's the Fit Gear Hunter. Thanks so much for watching.